I never thought my life would take such a bizarre turn, but here I am, sharing my apartment with an alien. Yep, you heard me right. An extraterrestrial being from a far-off galaxy is my roommate, and let me tell you, it's been one heck of a ride. It all started when I found a peculiar-looking meteorite in my backyard. Being the amateur astronomer that I am, I decided to investigate. To my shock, the meteorite cracked open, revealing a tiny, green, three-eyed creature. It blinked at me, and before I knew it, I had a new roommate. Now, you might be wondering how I was so sure it was an alien. Well, aside from the fact that it came from a freaking meteorite, it had green, scaly skin, 3 eyes that blinked independently, and it communicated in a series of clicks and whistles. Yeah, pretty sure that's not your average Earthling. I named my alien roommate Zog. It seemed fitting for a being from another planet. Zog was a curious little guy, constantly poking around my apartment, examining my belongings with those 3 beady eyes. I had to teach him the basics of Earth life, like how to use the microwave, flush the toilet, and not to put metal in the toaster. You'd be surprised how challenging it is to explain these things to someone who doesn't even have a concept of what a toaster is. One of the funniest moments was when Zog tried to mimic my morning routine. He stood in front of the mirror, attempting to brush his non-existent hair, only to realize he didn't have any. He stared at his reflection, puzzled, and then proceeded to use the toothbrush to clean his scaly green chin. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Eating was another adventure. Zog didn't quite understand our earthly cuisine. He tried to devour a bowl of cereal with a fork, thinking it was some kind of exotic Earth dish. I had to introduce him to pizza, burgers, and ice cream, which, unsurprisingly, he loved. Who knew aliens had a sweet tooth? Despite the hilarity that came with having an alien roommate, there were some challenges. Zog had a unique ability to teleport small objects. At first I was impressed, thinking he was some kind of magician. But then he started teleporting my keys, phone, and occasionally my socks to random places in the apartment. I'd find my car keys in the fridge or my phone inside the microwave. It became a daily scavenger hunt, and I had to implement a strict no teleportation rule. Zog also had a fascination with our Earth pets. He couldn't get enough of my goldfish, which he affectionately named water wigglers. He'd sit by the fish tank for hours, staring at them with those 3 eyes, occasionally trying to engage in telepathic communication. I'm pretty sure the fish thought he was some kind of god. But the real challenge came when Zog decided to join me on a trip to the local grocery store. Picture this: a green, 3-eyed alien wearing sunglasses and a trench coat, trying to blend in with humans. Needless to say, we attracted some attention. People stared, whispered, and even took photos. Zog's attempt at casual human behavior was nothing short of comical. He walked like a penguin with one too many flippers. One day, we decided to watch a sci-fi movie together. I thought it would be a fun way for Zog to learn about human culture. As we sat on the couch, he scrutinized the screen, occasionally clicking and whistling in response to the alien characters. I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony life with Zog was a continuous series of comedic misadventures. It seemed like every day brought a new, hilarious encounter that left me in stitches. One of the most memorable moments was when he decided to try his hand at human fashion. I came home one evening to find Zog wearing my clothes, or at least attempting to. He had managed to put on my jeans, but had them pulled up to his armpits. My oversized t-shirt was a dress on him with the neckline slipping down over one shoulder. He wobbled around the apartment like a toddler playing dress-up, trying to strike a model pose and failing spectacularly. "Zog, you look fabulous," I choked out between fits of laughter. He tried to mimic my laughter, emitting a series of clicks and whistles that only made the situation funnier. Our adventures extended to social interactions as well. Zog was determined to learn about human emotions, so he insisted on watching romantic comedies. He'd sit on the couch, engrossed in the lovey-dovey scenes, occasionally turning to me with his three eyes wide and clicking in what I assumed was his version of crying. One evening, after watching a particularly heartwarming scene, he turned to me and exclaimed, "I have discovered the meaning of love, dear human. It is a beautiful thing, like our earthly ice cream." I couldn't help but chuckle at his interpretation of love. I patted him on the back and said, "That's close enough, Zog." But it wasn't just movies that fascinated him. Zog developed a fondness for cooking, or at least his version of it. One day, he decided to make spaghetti. I handed him a pot, a box of pasta, and a jar of tomato sauce, hoping for the best. What happened next was a culinary disaster of galactic proportions. Zog dumped the entire box of dry pasta into the pot, along with the unopened jar of tomato sauce. He then turned on the stove to high heat, flames dancing dangerously close to his green, scaly skin. I rushed to the rescue, turning off the stove and trying to salvage what was left of our kitchen. "Zog, buddy, you can't cook like this," I said, wiping tomato sauce off the walls. He clicked and whistled in disappointment, clearly disappointed with his cooking skills. Our apartment became a treasure trove of oddities. Zog collected earthly items he found intriguing, such as rubber ducks, shiny spoons, and an assortment of colorful socks. He arranged them in elaborate displays around the apartment, believing they held some cosmic significance. One evening, I invited some friends over for a game night. As they entered the apartment, they were greeted by a wall of rubber ducks, staring at them with their beady eyes. Zog proudly introduced each duck, assigning them names and personalities. My friends exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of how to react. Then came the day when Zog discovered the concept of pranks. He decided to play a little trick on me. While I was in the shower, he teleported all the furniture in the apartment to the ceiling, leaving me in a room that looked like an Escher painting. I stumbled out of the bathroom, dripping wet and utterly perplexed, to find everything upside down. Zog clicked and whistled, delighted with his prank. Then, as I watched in disbelief, Zog attempted to teleport the sofa from one corner of the room to the other. However, his aim was slightly off. Instead of the sofa, he ended up teleporting my neighbor's lawn gnome into our living room. It stood there, surrounded by shattered glass and framed family photos, as everything also fell from the ceiling, with Zog clicking and whistling in surprise. "Zog, what did you do?" I exclaimed, trying to suppress my laughter. One peek outside told me that Mrs. Patterson next door was bewildered by her sudden lack of a garden gnome. He turned to me, eyes wide with innocence, and replied, "I wanted to rearrange the furniture." "Nice one, Zog," I said, trying to hide my frustration. It took us hours to get everything back to its rightful place, during which Zog couldn't stop giggling.